Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in today. Today I'm going to do one of three requests that are on the board, and I try to get it to everybody's requests. This one was a request by three different people over three different time periods who have always asked me, can you do a video on those coins and patches and things that are behind you? Tell us what they are. And I do have these coins and patches and pictures and things behind me for my own wall, and I don't talk about them too much, but since I have been getting requests to explain what they are, I will honor that request. I always appreciate your requests. I also have a request about officers who get addicted to alcohol and drugs, or use it as a method of self-medication. I'm going to do that one as well. I promise I'll get to that one. Now today you asked for it, so prepare yourself. You're going to hear about this wall behind me at your request. I'm going to start with my mother, who has her picture up here on the right top, and you see it on the screen here as I talk. I come from a family of first responders, a very small family, mom, dad, and me and a brother. Everybody was either military or first responder. And my mother was a medical nurse, and we're very proud of Mom for what she did and how she raised us and what she did for her community. My brother was a police officer for 23 years in Las Cruces, New Mexico. He is retired after 23 years on road patrol. We thank him for his service and that dangerous job he did for 23 years, and he made it, and he survived it. And then there's Dad, the hard hand of the family. Why? Well, he is 22 years retired infantry first sergeant, Korean War, and before the Korean War, he was in World War II and the Korean War. And he went in the Army at age 16. His mother signed for him to go in, and that's why I have him up here. And his medals that you see here, he has the Bronze Star and combat medals and infantry combat and all those things. Also in that picture you're looking at, he became a fireman after he got out of the Army 22 years. Did 15 years as a fireman at White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico, and those are his fireman badges, and then he became a fire inspector, and those are his badges in there as well. So that takes care of the family things that I have behind me. As far as me, I went into the military police academy at Fort McClellan, Alabama in 1978. And then I was shipped off to Germany, where I did 5 years in a combat military police unit. Now, we trained to be combat MPs. We went in the field for training, but we did the majority of our work as road patrolmen, police patrolmen. We call them white hats. And we did traffic accident investigations, bar fights, domestic disturbances at the military housing units, you name it. Whatever a street cop does here in the streets in the U.S., we did it over there. And we had a pretty big area in the greater Stuttgart area. We would usually have 7 patrols on every night. And at night you had 2 military police, and in the daytime you had 1 military policeman or policewoman on patrol. While in Germany, I went to the 7th Army Non-Commissioned Officers Academy in Bad Tolz, Germany, which is a requirement if you want to become a sergeant, staff sergeant, and so forth. And I completed that school and then came back over to the United States. In the Army, I was sent to the U.S. Central Command, which is some of these coins back here. As you can see, I have my military challenge coins here that I'm showing you now. And I was also in the U.S. Central Command as a military policeman for 3 years, and we were in charge of the Middle East and things that go on in the Middle East. It was the command for the Middle East, and I worked there, and I became a sergeant and a staff sergeant at that location. I went from E1 through E4, Specialist 4th Class in Germany, and then I sergeant and staff sergeant when I became stateside duty. Now, one of the things that is behind me as well is this pistol, the Harper's Ferry Military Police Cross Pistol. And there's only one of them, and they usually come in a pair. That's why they're called cross pistols. The United States Army in 1923 adopted the Harper's Ferry pistols as the official insignia of the military police. Now, in the War of 1812, these were used, okay? And they were identical pairs. They were always issued in pairs. They were a .54 caliber single shot pistol. And they were used back in the War of 1812 and continued within the military and then adopted by the military police in 1923. So you're asking me, why do you only have one? You're supposed to have the military police pistols crossed. Well, they are there. One is there because First Sergeant John Meinholz, retired United States Army combat veteran, he was given these by a high-ranking official. And he said he wanted to share it with me. We served together in Germany, and we're still friends today, folks, from way back in 1980. Still friends today, still do things together today. He said, Gary, he called me up. He said, I want to share this with you. I know the cross pistols are to stay together normally, but as a brother and former military policeman and friend, I'd like to share one of them with you. And we will always know that the other has the other half to it. Man, what a tribute. I was so humbled by that. That's the story behind that one pistol and why there's not two cross Harper's Ferry pistols on there. A lot of people have asked me, what's that metal in the middle there? Well, that metal is not the a super high ranking metal. That's the U.S. Army commendation medal that I got in Germany. Now, on this chart, you'll see I put an arrow where it ranks. It's up there, but it's not up there. It's not the Medal of Honor. It's not the Bronze Star medal like my father has for combat, the Bronze Star up in his. But I'm proud of it for several reasons. Number one, when I was given that award, John Meinholz, who I just mentioned, retired First Sergeant combat veteran who shares this other cross pistol with me, he was there. Ray Kelly was there, and Stephen Percival was there, and some others that you're going to see in these pictures were there when I got this award. And no, not everybody gets this award. A lot of people do. A lot of people don't get this award. And I put it there not because it's a super high ranking, but because of sentimental value of working with these folks. And three of these folks that I was with at the time of this award are not with us anymore. We stayed friends all the way till their passing these last recent years. And I'm going to put their pictures up here. And so it's a sentimental value more than it is about the award. I see it, and it brings back memories of me and John Meinholz, who's still alive, and my friend, and these three comrades of mine who are now deceased. It brings back memories of us being on patrol together, or being out in the field together, and practicing as combat military police. Sentimental value. It's not about how high a ranking medal it is. But just to give you the answer on that, that's why I have that there. I have others that I could put up, but that's the only one I put up because of sentimental value. And of course I put all my dad's up there. So to answer your question, that's what that is. And I got that for 5 years of service at the 300th Military Police Company for several reasons. The first sergeant had explained. Over those years, I was on patrol. I did some death investigations. I was unfortunate. I had to do a crib death. A captain was in the field. His wife was home with a baby, and the baby died. I responded on the scene. Young guy, I'm maybe 19, 20 years old, and here I am with my first crib death. And we had to call the captain in, and they helicoptered him in by helicopter, brought him in by helicopter. I was told that not to let anybody in the crime scene. Well, let me tell you what I did. The captain, got in front of me, and he said, I'm going to see my baby. Now, I'm a 19, 20-year-old military policeman, and I have to make a decision. First, I'm not supposed to let anybody into the crime scene, but this is the father of the baby. Let me tell you something. CID hadn't gotten there yet, or MPI. I made a decision. I let the father go in. I just told him, please don't pick up the baby. Don't touch the baby. Don't move anything. He broke down. And I'm glad I made that decision. It gets me. I'm glad I made the decision to let the father go in there, and then I escorted him out. It's crazy how some of these cases stick with you. But I let him in, and I'm glad I did. And I didn't get in trouble for it. I let MPI and CID know when they arrived on the scene that what I did. And they actually told me, you know what, you did the right thing. I know, but it's a crime scene. But how are you going to stop a father, you know, from coming in there to see his baby? It was a terrible case to have. Anyway, that's one I did. And then I had another one where I went TDY, transfer duty assignment, up into northern Germany, more mountains of Germany. And I got called to a case of an officer, of a military veteran. He and his buddy went hiking in Germany, and one slipped and fell to his death down on the rocks. And I was not only on the scene for that, but I had to take family members to the morgue, had to take the commanding officer to the morgue to identify the body, and the face was just, it was bad. You know, you first start out investigating the case, and then of course MPI and CID come in. I'm the first on the scene. I'm the patrolman taking the initial report, taking initial witness statements. That, you have to wonder, did he get pushed, you know, but in the end it was all clear. They were very good friends. They were very good, tight buddies, like I am with the guys I just described. It was ruled an accidental death. And then I had another traffic accident fatality I got called to one day. The Oktoberfest was going on in Stuttgart, Germany, and a soldier got drunk, and, you know, the train cars come out. They drive down the middle of the road on the tracks, and one was coming out of a tunnel. The soldier was drunk going across the tracks. He walked right out in front of it and got smashed. Same situation there. I had to do the report. MPI showed up on the scene. I remember Mike Wanek was the MPI investigator, a person that is still in touch with all of us at the 300th MP company. He came on the scene as well. We processed the crime scene. I triangulated and did my 3946, which I still remember the form, is a traffic accident investigation form. Diagram not drawn to scale, but we put the measurements and we triangulated some things, and that was a terrible case. So, you know, my award wasn't, this Army Commendation Medal wasn't for one single thing. It was for 5 years of service. But I thought I would tell some of those stories of cases that I had as an MP patrolman. We could go on forever about those things that happened over there in Germany. If you're wondering why I looked down, I drew a little outline to try to keep things in order. We'll go from the military now to corrections, which these patches are behind me, and these coins, and I'll show them here. I started out after the Army, 10 years Army, by the way, 8 active duty and 2 Army Reserve, at another MP company here in Tampa, Florida, the 810th MP company, a combat unit as well. I joined the corrections to temporarily have a job and ended up retiring after 28.8 years. And I have my patch here on the wall from the Florida Department of Corrections, which I spent, I believe it was 15.75, 16 years with the Florida Department of Corrections. And then I have my patch from the Polk County Sheriff's Office, where I spent the remainder of time before I retired with 28.8 years of service. And I put these patches up. Those 2 patches I mentioned were mine. And the other patches are gifts. Gifts from Canada. I did a video on post-traumatic stress disorder, and it was seen by a Canadian officer. We became friends. We wrote a letter to each other. I sent him a patch, and he sent me this patch. I have one from Puerto Rico, tactical unit patch from Puerto Rico officer. I have a New York patch and some other things in here, some coins from New York from an officer that I met in New York at Staten Island. He's a retired lieutenant, and he gave me some challenge coins, some very unique ones, and some New York patches. We both were filming that day on for Showtime for the Escape at Denamora scene in the control room. I was a control room officer. He was my control room sergeant. I'm retired Florida Corrections, and he's retired New York Corrections. And we met, kicked off real well, and we're still friends today. That was 2018 up at Staten Island at an old abandoned prison where we did the filming. Patches from all over, as you see. I'll put them up here one at a time. York County Jail up in Maine. They had ordered a couple of my books and put them in their library up there. And then we got to know each other a little bit, and the sheriff wanted a patch from Polk County Sheriff Office because of Grady Judd, not me, because of Sheriff Grady Judd. So I sent them a patch of Polk County Sheriff's Office, and they sent me a patch. It's just fun to be involved with these people in other countries and around our United States, and share stories and share patches and coins. I also went to Germany. My wife and I both got approved through the German government to tour Stanheim Prison. These are patches that were given to me and my wife when we toured the Stanheim Prison. Remember the Baader-Meinhof gang back in the day in the 70s? They were housed in the old unit. They took us to the old unit, and they even showed us the cells where the Baader-Meinhof gang committed suicide, several of them, men and women, and that was an eerie feeling to be in those cells in that old building, which still stands next to the new prison in Stuttgart. And we got to tour it, and I interviewed people, and I wrote an article on that, and it was published by corrections1.com, and it's had a lot of comments and reviews on there, differences of opinions about things that went on in the Stanheim prison, but hey, it was a great experience, and that's what those patches are for. I used to run all the time. I've got a couple of 5K things up there. I used to do the 10Ks and the 15Ks. I don't have them up there. Maybe I need to get them up there. I retired in 2018. I'm retired but not expired. I don't do the 15K and 10K anymore, even though I could do the 10K. But I've dropped it down to doing 5K runs now, which is enjoyable, and you get out and you meet a lot of officers. I do the runs that are for corrections or law enforcement, and it's really nice to get out there and do those runs, and then mingle with the people afterwards with some Gatorade or a nice cold water, and get you a nice little medal to say you were there. You know, it's kind of fun to do those things. And as I said, I'm retired, but I'm not expired yet. So that's kind of a rundown of what's behind me, folks. You asked me to tell you about it, and I covered it, which, you know, kind of quick, but hey, I could sit here forever and tell stories about all these things. But the main thing is, now you know when you see me on these videos, for those of you that were curious and requested this video, what's going on behind me here. And as I said, I come from a family of military and law enforcement. So thank you very much for your request. You others, I have 2 more requests on the board. The next request I'm going to take care of is the alcohol and you know, pharmaceutical meds and pills and things like that sometimes we in law enforcement and corrections get dependent on to help self-medicate. Why we don't want to do that, and why we need to turn for help and not be ashamed to ask for help. So thanks, folks, for tuning in. Gary York, True Prison Stories. Please subscribe.